Mark Shuttlworta, founder of Canonical. Mark, thank you for joining us.
It's a great pleasure.
So, how important are the operator partnerships going to be? Obviously, because we're seeing operators becoming a bit more active in the sort of device platform space.
Well, for the operators, platforms are a very strategic question because the link between platforms and services is increasingly clear. So a core part of our positioning is as a platform that integrates services from the operators and carriers. And that means that it's very clear how operators who engage with Ubuntu would deliver their own portfolio of content, services, and capabilities. Those allow them to differentiate without fragmenting the platform. They also allow them to build a deeper relationship with the end user than they do if they're simply a pipe for voice or data. And so that's been a key plank in our strategy. Building those relationships with carriers is we think, essential.
Okay, we have seen a kind of lot of noise, especially MWC, obviously, where you did one of the keynotes, from the kind of new entrants in the mobile operating system space. I mean, how are you positioning yourself as being different from other kind of rivals?
So it's quite an exciting time in terms of new platforms coming to market, and I think that diversity is very healthy. I think our core points of differentiation, first, we have this unique convergence vision, where the phone really becomes the centerpiece of a portfolio of personal computing experiences. And the phone, in fact, can be the brain, the heart of all of them. And what supports that first is the platform. You know, the Ubuntu phone is running the full operating system, the full desktop operating system, and the full cloud operating system. It's exactly the same. The design that gives you a very scalable experience from phone through tablet to PC. And the existing developer community that we have from the PC. We're the second most popular platform in the world after Windows for PC manufacturers. Something like 20 to 30% of the PCs in China ship with Ubuntu already today. So those are very strong points of differentiation. Technically, we support both native and HTML5 applications. That's really important. HTML5 is seen as a very strong lowest common denominator, but native applications are seen as the benchmark for user experience and polish. So I think that's important. And then our independence, strategically is important as well. There's a very deep dependence in Mozilla on Google, which for carriers is uncomfortable. There's a very deep dependence in Tizen on Samsung, and that's also uncomfortable. So it's a complicated landscape, but we feel like we have a good story, and the response has been very encouraging.
So how are you getting on building kind of relationships in the sort of developer and kind of content community? Because a platform alone is not enough.
Sure. Well, we have this unique relationship with the Android developer community. It's a lot easier to bring an app from Android to Ubuntu than to bring it from Android to either the Windows platform or the Firefox platform or any number of other platforms. So that's a very important link. Many Android developers already use Ubuntu, so they're developing their Android applications on Ubuntu. And so that gives us a good starting point for both providing the SDKs, delivering the SDKs, generating interest, and having a conversation with the developers. We're pretty confident that we'll have a portfolio of the top 50 applications that are native, that are optimized, that give people a really fantastic experience at launch. And so that's very important. And we're very confident also that we'll do a first-class job of the web. It's a little easier for us to do that because we're very strongly aligned with both iOS and Android in terms of the web rendering that we use. So the mobile web kind of comes naturally to Ubuntu, so that's across all of those fields: native applications, HTML5 applications, developer engagements. I think we're in a good starting position. The modern application is built simultaneously. Half of it is built for the cloud, half of it is built for the client. And those two, have to be built together, tested together, developed together. It's extraordinary to be able to do that on one platform. So a developer running Ubuntu on their laptop can emulate the cloud backend, and it's not emulation, they're actually running exactly the same software for the cloud backend, and run the mobile front end all on the same operating system all at the same time. So you couldn't get a better developer experience for that modern application, right, of cloud backend. And since the cloud backend is going to be on Ubuntu anyway, almost certainly, and since in many cases you're going to do an Android front end and you'll develop that on Ubuntu, there's a very strong tie in there from a developer experience point of view.
Okay, so device vendors, I mean, what sort of stage are you at in those negotiations? I don't think there's been any sort of announcements.
We've, as I said, we have strong support from the silicon market, and partly I think that's driven by the fact that Ubuntu spans so many categories of computing, from cloud, server, PC, phone and tablet. So from a silicon point of view, if you aspire to sell silicon across a range of computing form factors, working with Ubuntu is very useful, because it's one engagement that can then give you access to a number of different markets. So I think that's why quite a few of the silicon companies have expressed very strong support for our approach. The handset manufacturers, our plan is to go to market in the initial round with one ODM who could do own brand devices for operators, and one OEM who would do 2 devices under their own brand. We have a silicon lead, and so what we'll do is take 2 of their reference platforms, one mid-range and one high-end, put those 2 platforms through the process with the ODM and the OEM, so we hope to end up with 4 devices at launch, and then some carefully chosen launch carrier partners.
Great. Mark, thank you for your time.
Great pleasure to speak.